Welcome to KQEG and Seven Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson. Each week, an inside look into sports, into wellness, and into fitness. Well, this week, this is special. This is exciting. Our guest this week, one of the top track and field athletes in the state of Wisconsin, happens to be from Aquinas High School. My guest this week, senior Lukas Beck. Welcome to the show, Lukas.
Thank you for having me.
Before we talk about all your accomplishments, a lot of people wonder, well, who is this Lukas Beck? You have just an extraordinarily unique background. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Slovakia, which is in Western Europe. And, I was also adopted. And, it's definitely been a struggle with all of that, just kind of conforming to American life as a young child and then moving on from there.
Has there been some really difficult times for you?
Not really. I've had a really big growth mindset throughout my life, so I try not to think about difficult times and everything. But yeah, definitely when I was starting out, I was definitely a very skinny, malnourished child, and that was definitely very tough for me when it came for sports and everything.
Have you ever thought about, like, you came from Slovakia? I've read a lot about that country and have not been there, but a lot of great athletes from that country. Have you ever thought about, like, if your parents would not have come over and adopted you, what would your life have been like?
Oh, I honestly have no idea. I definitely believe that it's kind of hard to picture that because I don't really know what the family life would be like there, because obviously the only family that I know from Slovakia is my mother's side, and that's kind of the way I was raised throughout my life. So that's like the only family life I know, but I really wouldn't know what it would be like to be living with a different family per se.
Before we went on the air, you mentioned that you have been back a couple of times. Mm-hmm. For our viewers, and for me too, to enlighten me, what does Slovakia look like? What goes on there? Explain the country.
Well, there's a lot of beautiful mountains. That's probably one of my favorite things to see when I'm there. And for life, it's really like America, because, America, and from where we're at, Wisconsin, has very German, Irish type living style. And, it's kind of like La Crosse with a very dense population, and there's a lot of people in one area, but when you get in the country outside of, the city, it's very beautiful.
And schools? Have you had a chance to look at schools and how that's set up in Slovakia?
Yeah, I actually did end up going there for a couple hours because my cousin, who is a few years younger than me, I had to walk him home from school one day, and I kind of went in to see it. And it's actually very similar to America with the way it's set up. Lockers are still all in one line and everything. They move classes and everything. Biggest difference is the language, obviously.
Well, the world was turned upside down with the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And we're just starting to recover from it. And of course, you lost your junior year in high school, mm-hmm. part of your senior year. You lost the state track meet in 2020. And there's been a lot of fallout from that, mental health issues and so on. Reflect on how you handled the pandemic.
Well, when the pandemic first started, I was, very disappointed, obviously, because, I'd worked really hard to get in probably the best shape of my life for my junior year season. I practiced a lot. I didn't have any injuries, which was nice coming into that, and I was really ready to do really well, and I was kind of hoping for the Olympic trials at, the end of the year, or run for the national team, either America or Slovakia, depending on how good my times were. And then pandemic happened, and I kept practicing for the time being, because, they were always telling you, like, oh, 3 weeks, you're going to be back, but, that never happened. So after that, I just went to work every day and continued on with my normal life. I tried not to think about it too much.
Well, in 2020, certainly the COVID set you back.
Yeah.
And you referenced that. And you started the season with a herniated disc. Mm-hmm. Then you had a fractured vertebrae. And there just didn't seem to be an adequate time to get you back to the level that you wanted.
Yeah. That was definitely a huge setback. Like, I remember running a practice, and my left hamstring was kind of going off of hurt really bad to my whole left leg was numb, and they kind of just go back and forth from that. You know, I thought, oh, I'll just sleep it off. It's probably just a pull or something, and then woke up the next morning and I hardly had any mobility in my left leg whatsoever. And you know, I was like, oh, I could just walk this off. You know, I'm tough enough to walk this off. Went to school, got to about 9 o'clock, called my mom, and I was like, yeah, we need to go get this checked out. So went to the doctor. They did all their tests and everything. Came back a couple days later, and they're like, yeah, you got a herniated disc and a pars fracture. And I was like, oh, well, that's terrific. We just started track 2 weeks ago, and our first meet's next week. So yeah, it was definitely tough, but, you know, pulled through it. And I try not to let things like that, you know, pull me down.
Our guest this week, Lukas Beck, standout student athlete at Aquinas High School, just graduated. When you were in high school, you tried football? I remember actually this spring during the season watching you play. We covered a lot of games. Soccer, cross country, wrestling, track and field.
Yep.
Let's just kind of go back down the yellow brick road to when you were young, and somebody must have inspired you, encouraged you to get involved in a lot of sports, and noticed that you had a gift.
Yeah, you know, my dad he's a big long distance runner. That's the reason I did cross country my freshman year, because I thought I could run long distances, and that didn't work out very well for me. And then I ended up doing soccer because my mom actually wouldn't let me play football because she thought I'd get a concussion. So I was like, you know what, soccer, next best thing. I can hit people without pads. And then that got pretty boring for me about my junior year. And then senior year, I was like, you know what, I'll do football. I might as well. It'll be fun. So did football my senior year. I definitely do not regret doing that. It was probably the best couple months of high school that I had. You know, it was a great team.
Well, great team, great teammates. Hey, just a reminder, we covered a lot of those games during the spring abbreviated season. And you looked comfortable. You looked like you really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. You know, I had a lot of great friends on the team. You know, one of my friends that actually talked me into it, Aiden Lee, he was telling me like, oh, you gotta play this year, you gotta play this year. He was actually trying to get me out for football since my freshman year of high school. But my mom would let me obviously earlier. So senior year, he finally convinced me to come out, and you know, I definitely probably had one of the best times of my life playing that, even though I didn't play much. But you know, I had a lot of fun with the team. I had a lot of fun, great coaches too.
You enjoyed your years at Aquinas, and I know, looking at your profile, you received many honors. We're going to talk about that, so don't go away. One of the most elite athletes ever competing in the state of Wisconsin. You'll find out more about that. But you also won the Father Rossiter Award.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a surreal moment, because I remember just sitting there, and then Coach Carley going up there, and you know, he said a lot of things that really, you know, I hold dear to my heart, and it was, I can't really explain how good it felt, because I don't think there is words that can describe that feeling of how amazing it felt to get that award.
Amazing for you, maybe even more emotional for Mom and Dad and your dog, Lucy.
Yep.
Who probably wasn't at that award ceremony, but you know, that's a big part of your life too. But you mentioned too that, of course, we all know that we've been inspired by lots of different people. I'd have to rent the lacrosse center to put all the people in that have meant something to me in my life, inspired me. But you mentioned that one of your keys to success has been the encouragement and the inspiration and the modeling of your dad.
Yeah, you know, I've always looked up to my dad throughout my whole life, and at a very young age, he got me into the weight room, which is, I probably have to owe 105% of my success to the weight room. And, you know, he taught me how to work hard in everything I do. You know, that's how I developed my work ethic, is by watching my dad. You know, he'd work his 40 hours a week, and then after that, he'd still have time for his family, for what he wanted to do and everything. And, you know, I've always just wanted to be like that when I was older.
And your dad really encouraged you, and you got involved in weight training a lot younger than a lot of people, when you were in 7th grade.
Yep, yeah. You know, he showed me, because he used to lift a lot. We have a kind of a little workout room in our basement, and, you know, I always thought he was the biggest guy in the world, and I was always like, Dad, how do I look like you? I want to look like you. And he's like, well, we'll get you in the weight room and everything. And, you know, we used to keep a little log of all the maxes that I had at like 13 years old, and, you know, it was kind of cool seeing those numbers go up. And then probably definitely after my 8th grade year, going into my freshman year, you know, I really started to fall in love with it. There'd be times where I'd spend 2-3 hours in the weight room every day, just because I wanted to continue progress going on. And
well, you know, in reading articles about the benefits of weight training with sprinting and your leg power, and acquiring that kind of power based on weight training, and of course in sprinting, it's applying great force to the ground as you move through your 100 meters, which you've excelled at, so I can see why that was a huge benefit for you. Well, we're going to step aside just for a minute, Lucas. When we come back, more here on Seven Rivers Sports.
When you're faced with the decision of selecting a monument to honor someone dear to you, call Lewiston Monuments for a no-obligation consultation. Lewiston Monument is a full-service monument company, serving families in Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin for over 4 generations. You'll find beautiful granite, marble, and bronze memorials, all at competitive prices. Their experts can help you design the perfect and unique memorial. Lewiston Monument. Call today or on the web at lewistonmonument.com.
You know, the thing I'm most proud of when I think about our company is the reputation that we've been able to build in this community. Our technicians have done a great job going out and performing magnificent jobs for the customer. And our customers have rewarded us with some really great reviews online.
We have over 150 5-star reviews online right now. Our technicians do a great job out there, and our reviews show it.
We can say without hesitation, when you choose Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. This week, Lukas Beck. We're talking about the elite sport of track and field at Aquinas with one of the very best, Lukas Beck. Well, let me just share a couple things with you that a lot of our viewers, and I didn't know any of this, all of this. In 93 years of Aquinas' existence, 93 years, Lukas is the fastest sprinter ever. Something is like, whoa! He holds a state Division III record for 100 meters. Now, Aquinas has been state champs in 2011 girls, 2012 boys, 2019, not too long ago, both boys and girls, and 2021 boys. Here's what's interesting too. Lukas Beck, state record holder in 100-meter dash, anchored and a member of the 4x200 state record holding relay team. State champion 2019-21, been runner-up, and just to sort of shed more light on this, Lukas has not been beat in a race until the 4x100 in this year's championship since state of 2020 or 2019. you've accomplished a heck of a lot there, young man.
Thank you.
Thoughts on all of that?
Well, you know, it took a lot of hard work, obviously, and a lot of Coach Carly helping me through everything. You know, he's probably helped me more than anyone when it comes to track. You know, he also helped me through school. I did struggle in that a tiny bit. And, you know, he really pushed me to get through it so I could run. And then, you know, he really helped me with workouts and everything, helped me with my weightlifting, you know, helped me with diet, nutrition, everything.
Assistant coach Chris Carly, here's what he said about you, too. Lucas, over the past 4 years, is the best sprinter that Aquinas has ever had and the best in the state of Wisconsin. Quiet, humble, hobbies reflect his success in track and field, which is outdoor recreation and weight training. And that you have a small circle of friends, and some of your friends that I spoke to also echoed this, because you really look to surround yourself with a few people and keep negativity out of your life.
Yeah, you know, I've always lived by the motto, you know, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. So that's why I've always picked my friends, made sure that they have the same goals as I have. And, you know, I tend to hang out with people like that a lot more, you know, people who have a growth mindset.
Lucas doesn't need to talk the talk because he says it and he does it with his abilities on the field. Coach goes on to say that you have a no-nonsense work ethic and it's all business.
Yeah.
Learned that from Dad?
Yep. Like I definitely try not to talk too much because I've always found it pointless, you know, to talk yourself up and then at the end of the day you do something wrong or something goes wrong accidentally and then you sit there kind of looking pretty stupid because you were talking all this, but then at the end of the day you did about half of that. So I've always, you know, been one to talk with actions per se.
Jeff Wilhelm, he's a very successful head coach in track and field and cross country, says similar things about you, and something I didn't know. In the two state titles, 2019 and 2021, Lucas contributed almost half the points in winning those championships. And it goes on to talk about how you don't shine the proverbial flashlights and the proverbial spotlight on yourself. You deflect to others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this year, I'm going to use an example. Like when I ran that 100 with Colin, you know,
Colin Kazemius.
Yep. He's done a lot for our team this year, and especially, you know, he had that hip injury, or no, it was groin injury, and I was really hoping that, you know, he knows that he's as good as people think he is. You know, I think he has trouble figuring out that, like, you know, people think he's insanely good, but, you know, sometimes he sits back and thinks like, oh, am I really this good? And, you know, I always like to tell him, you know, hey, you're a lot better than you think you are. You know, you gotta just keep doing what you do.
You identified in your profile a couple interesting things. Your favorite opponent is every opponent because they bring new challenges. Like every day brings a new challenge. And something a lot of elite athletes say, my toughest opponent is myself. You can either be your best friend or your worst enemy, but you always set the table and set the bar, I mean, for how high you actually can go based on your potential.
Yeah. Like with the toughest opponent being myself, you know, I don't look at the competition and just be like, hey, I need to beat this guy, I need to beat this guy, because then your mind is on different things. It's not on what you have to do, it's on beating set person, but that's because you think that they're the best one in the race, so therefore you think, oh, I come in second. So you always have to think to yourself, like, I'm running against myself, I'm not running against these other people. You know, I want to beat that time that I ran a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 years ago.
Philosophy of life for Lukas Beck. Interesting. Take the road least traveled. Don't do what other people expect you to do. Do what, follow the dream that you have for yourself.
Yep.
Have you always done that?
Yeah. Like, there's always been a lot of people in my life that have been like, oh, you can't do this. Why would you do this? It's too risky to do this. You know, what you're doing is unintelligent to them. And I've always thought, like, you know, hey, I got one life. You know, this makes me happy. This is what I want to do in life. This is my goal. This is not this person's goal.
What's next for Lukas? Now, you graduated. You certainly can go on and compete collegiately, but you have lots of different options.
Yeah. So I want to run at UWL next year. That is the goal right now, but I have to take into account, you know, I do have this back problem, which is that fracture is permanent, and it does hurt pretty bad some days. So I'm gonna try to get that figured out, see if they can do anything about it, and I think that'll be the real big deciding factor.
Well, I know the coaching staff at UWL quite well, including the head coach, Josh Buchholz, and he would love to have you on that team.
Yeah, I'd love to be on that team.
You know, as we tape the show here, and right after the 4th of July, a lot of us are thinking, oh, the Olympics is right ahead of us. And you talked earlier about that was your dream at one point, but your injuries kind of were a setback. But when you look at the 100 meters where you excelled and won state championships, you think of Trevon Bromell, you think of, well, Carl Lewis when I grew up watching, and Usain Bolt, Tyson Gay, Justin Gatlin, some of the more elite runners. And who will win in Tokyo in 2021? Will it be an American runner? Will it Noah Lyles? Will it be Justin Gatlin coming back from suspension at the age of 39? You're probably pretty interested in that event and the entire Olympics.
Yeah, I'll definitely be taking some time to watch that and seeing who wins.
Has there been any of those elite athletes that you have watched and tried to sort of emulate your style based on watching them compete?
Yeah, Usain Bolt definitely, because, you know, he has those longer strides. He isn't very, well, he has longer legs, so, you know, his starts aren't the greatest, which is somewhere I kind of lacked. So I always tried to take his, like, perfect that stride that he had. You know, he reaches out really far, and that's how he runs.
Well, 3 gold medals, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, there's talk that he may compete again. Is that right? Come out of retirement?
I think I've heard something about that, yeah.
That's the news coming out of Jamaica.
Yep.
So I would think that's probably been decided already. There's a lot of young people that watch the show. What advice would you give them to someday be able to compete at the level that Lukas Beck has competed?
Well, follow your dreams. You know, don't let anyone get in your way of what you want to do. You know, just if someone doesn't like what you're doing, as long as it's a good thing, just, you know, keep doing it, because there's always going to be people in your life saying, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, because your family life is bad. You have, your physical fitness isn't good. You know, you can always change things.
Did you improve your fitness and your nutrition in particular into your high school years?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My freshman year, you know, I wasn't the biggest guy. You know, I was always focusing on, like, lifting, and I wasn't taking the time to sit back and think, hey, I need to eat correctly in order to gain X amount of weight or get better at set sport. And then I think my sophomore year, I really started to do that. You know, started eating a lot more, started eating a lot healthier, a lot cleaner, and that's when I really started to see the results in A, the weight room, B, on the track.
Good advice for all of us. One of my favorite athletes from years ago was Wilma Rudolph in the Olympics, and she said this: to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. You were given a gift. You always gave your best, didn't you?
Absolutely.
And You probably never heard of Wilma Rudolph, but that's what she said. Oh, and a lot of people have lived by the same philosophy. Well, it's been a pleasure to have Lukas Beck on our show. We wish you the best in the future and congratulate you for all your accomplishments.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
We'll be back with some closing thoughts right after this.
With our busy lives, it's a comfort to know that we can still remember loved ones in a traditional way with a monument. Lewiston Monuments in Lewiston, Minnesota has been helping families purchase a monument for over 4 generations. You'll find a large selection of beautiful granite, marble, and bronze monuments, all at competitive prices. And they're a full-service company, so they also do straightening, cleaning, and repair of monuments. Stop in or call for a no-obligation consultation, or visit lewistonmonument.com for more information.
You know, the thing I'm most proud of when I think about our company is the reputation that we've been able to build in this community. Our technicians have done a great job going out and performing magnificent jobs for the customer. And our customers have rewarded us with some really great reviews online.
We have over 150 5-star reviews online right now. Our technicians do a great job out there, and our reviews show it.
We can say without hesitation, when you choose Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to Seven River Sports. Well, I hope you enjoyed our interview with Aquinas student and state track and field champion Lukas Beck. Several area individuals were honored by the Wisconsin Basketball Coaches Association this past week. Central assistant coach Mark Podesky, along with Prairie du Chien head boys coach Andy Banasic, were inducted into the Hall of Fame. Also, Dave Donarski of Aquinas, Shane Schmaling of Onalaska High School received tribute awards. Broadcaster Scott Emmerich was also recognized for his contributions in basketball throughout the state of Wisconsin. We're always looking to broaden our list of guests and increase our topics. If you have a thought on an upcoming guest or something for us to cover, please contact us here at the studio. Join us for Nights of Thunder Racing every Thursday and every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Thanks for joining us this week. Next week, a great interview. We will introduce you to the recent retired Division I baseball coach at the University of Illinois, Mike D. You'll enjoy that interview. Till next week, I'm your host, Terry Erickson, hoping that you will have a safe, enjoyable, and an active week ahead.